right in the midst, well, what I believe in the start of a food shortage, food crisis in our country, and soon to be in the whole entire world. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I looked at the way I grew, or the way I couldn't grow or didn't grow my garden this year. Corn was hard to grow, and that's usually really easy. And tomatoes were very extremely hard to grow this season. And a lot of folks are contributing it to the grand solar minimum. A lot of people are talking about global warming. And another thing I noticed, and I saw this post the other day, I don't know how true it is, but it has been determined that the B is the most, what did the post say? The most important? I think they said the most important species on the planet. And I can see why. Because without bees, guess what? We don't have anything that's going to pollinate the crops, that's going to make things grow. So yeah, the bees are extremely important. And it burns me up when I hear people talk something. They're going to go kill some bees. I mean, hello? You killing bees, you're killing yourself. You're killing us. You're killing humans. So I did notice that this year, I had a lot of bees. I had a lot of bees that came through and pollinated my corn for me. But the corn just didn't grow. First of all, I wasn't able to put it into the ground early enough after the spring because we had so much rain. As a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I planted corn 2 or 3 times this year trying to get it to grow and come up. The first time I planted corn, I planted it right when spring was over, and I thought that we had our last frost and last freeze. I put that corn in the ground because we had like a 70, 80 degree day, and within 2 days it froze again. And I was like, oh, I just wasted that money, just wasted that corn. And then it happened to me again. This is crazy. I did plant corn 3 times this year because I did it the first time right when spring was over, or when I thought spring was over, and we had a freeze. And then about 2-3 weeks later, I planted corn again, and the same daggone thing happened. Planted corn, and boom, we had another freeze. So I waited another 2 weeks after that, and then I planted it. And then after that, I noticed that we had a lot of rain, which made the ground really muddy and soggy. So I did the third time. The corn grew, but I knew early on, within a couple 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, golly, this corn should be much taller than it is now. And it was that I'm growing stuff on. I grow stuff in my backyard in a little plot of land that I have worked, and I chalked it up that I didn't fertilize like I normally do. I normally bring in some cow manure, and I'll usually work my soil in a couple 2 or 3 weeks with some manure before I plant. And I didn't do that this year, so I was like, okay, well, because I didn't do the back to eating method, and because I didn't work my soil with some manure, that's probably why. And I chalked it up as that, which still could be part of the reason. But when I started researching and I started seeing other farmers across the country that were having problems with their crop, I started really looking into this thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, something's going on. Then I started watching my tomatoes, and my tomatoes weren't flowering and they weren't growing. As a matter of fact, I have a pot of tomatoes that Jennifer planted. God, this had to be in, whoa, goodness, this was like early spring. This might have been May, that are just now starting to flower. So, I mean, that's and to me that's crazy, because I thought the tomatoes had died. But I just kept nurturing them. I kept watering them, kept seeing what I could do for them. And this week, I see little flowers on the tomato plant. I'm like, are you serious? This thing is going to produce some tomatoes? So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Normally, like last year, I had so many tomatoes last year that, and we don't do any canning yet. We don't have that skill. So I would give tomatoes away to all of my neighbors. And it got to the point where we had so many tomatoes last year that most of our tomatoes, and I'm saying, you know, a couple hundred tomatoes, just rotted on the vine. I mean, because I just couldn't get them anymore. Because especially around August, September time, I started getting really busy with my job. That's usually inspection time. And, you know, I don't have a lot of time to spend out in the garden. A lot of those tomatoes last year they just rotted. Y'all, I'm in the tunnel right now. So anyway, yeah, things just weren't growing. I also set out watermelons this year, and I only put out 2 plants, but 2 plants should produce me a good, you know, 5 to 10 watermelons. And we had 3 that were growing. 2 of them died on the vine. I went out there one day, they were fine. 2 days later, 2 of them had died. Where do you start? Where do you start if you're just now getting into prepping, and if you're just now learning about the food shortage and the food crisis that's coming? Where do you start? Well, first of all, sit down and make a budget. It's a food that doesn't count the cost before they start spending money. Okay, it's a food. And I don't want you to be a fool. I want you to be wise. So first of all, sit down and see how much of a budget that you can spend right now, or weekly, or bi-weekly, or monthly on extra food. Because you need to start buying extra food right now. I would recommend you go back and watch all of my food shortage videos, because weekly I go around and I walk into stores and I just show you some of the empty shelves, and then with their canned goods and pastas and things like that. If you can afford it, I would recommend you getting you a vacuum seal food saver. You can pick one of them up. You can get one from Walmart. I think they may run $30, $35 maybe, and get you an extra, you know, 1 or extra 2 boxes of the little plastic sleeve things. That way you can start storing some food. All right. If you can afford it, get you a dehydrator. Get you a pretty good one too. I don't really recommend any brands on here because we don't have any brand sponsors. The moment we do get some brand sponsors, I'll be recommending some brands. But get you a dehydrator, and you can dehydrate your food and vacuum seal it, and that stuff will last for years to come. Learn how to can. That's a skill that Jennifer and I, we're going to start taking up this winter. When everything kind of calms down in our lives, we're going to start canning. And we're going to do some canning, and just, you know, just to do it, just to have it, just to make sure we know that skill, and to also produce more food. Because see, when you find things that are on sale, that's easy right there. You know, you find excuse me, you find some fruits and veggies and things on sale. Go home, cook them up, and can them. Especially if you had that skill already, go ahead and do that. And really start paying attention to what's going on in the world at large, and more importantly, in your country that you live in. You know, I look at Venezuela right now. Venezuela was a thriving country, you know, 15, 20 years ago. And now you can't even find pets in the streets. Why? Because they've gone through a food crisis. And these people are down there just eating everything and anything they get their hands on. You know, a lot of people have eaten their pets. Or a lot of people have, you know, given their pets to somebody else to eat because they can't afford to take care of them. A good read, you can also find it on YouTube. That's where I found it. 1 Second After. 1 Second After is a great book if you're just now getting started and you want to find out more about this lifestyle and being a prepper and getting prepped up. 1 Second After. That is a great book to read. You can also get Pastor Joe Fox has a book. I don't have his book. I just know he's advertised it several times. And you can look him up. I actually have a survival book that's coming out. Haven't released it yet. You know, look for it in the next 35 to 45 days. I'm probably gonna release that right before Christmas, and I'm doing that strategically because I missed the release last year, so I'm gonna do it this year around Christmas. I also I have a few books coming out around Christmas, just so you guys know. Plug. So and spend as much time on YouTube as you can. You know, I'm not the only channel. There are several channels that are talking about it. Some people that I'm partnered with, you can start watching Geim Survival. He has a dry humor that is crazy funny to me, but he's a truck driver up in the Indiana area, Chicago, Illinois area, and he talks a lot about the food shortage because he's out in the plainlands where, you know, the farms are and where he can see the farmlands, and he gives you a on the job kind of viewpoint from the way he sees things. I'm a little different. I'm here in the city, so I go from store to store, and I kind of show you guys what I'm seeing as far as the food shortage. Let me think of somebody else. Who else is talking about the food shortage right now? I know Geim Survival. That's like almost every other video that he's doing. He's doing, you know, food shortage videos. You can also watch. Oh, you can watch Buzzard Roost. That's another guy who is he gives you a little more practical things that you can use as far as a homestead. I come from a viewpoint of being, you know, more of a city slicker, living the city life right now. We're trying to get out the city. We're trying to buy some property and get us a homestead. Things take time, like I always say, but I'm giving you the city perspective. Geim Survival, he's going to give you a perspective of being a truck driver out seeing the farms. Buzzard Roost, he's going to give you a homesteading approach. Our friends Paul and Adrian over at Gardening with Desert Gardening. I'll post a link to their channel. Matter of fact, I'll post a link to all these guys' channel at the end of this video. But also Ice Age Prepper. No, that's the Ice Age Prepper, Ice Age Survival. Ooh, I don't want to mess it up. Anyway, plenty of people that you can watch that are talking about the food shortage. But if you are brand new and you're brand new to this, get some counsel. You can reach out to me, plant-based homestead prepper at gmail.com. Reach out before you start going out buying and spending a whole bunch of money on things that you're not going to need, because that's usually what happens when we first get into this lifestyle. We're excited about it, we get nervous, we get scared, we get frightened, and then we go out and spend money that we don't have to spend. Thank you, Ice Age Farmer. I knew it was Ice Age something. I said Ice Age Prepper, and I knew that wasn't right. Thanks, Terrible. Ice Age Farmer. He's going to give you a perspective of the technicalities, all of the documents, all of the documentation that proves that we're about to go into a food shortage, and we're in a food shortage, soon to be a food crisis. So Ice Age Farmer, definitely. What else? Who else? Just, you know, if I was just now getting into it, I've been prepping for some time now. I'm new to YouTube. I just started my channel, but I've been prepping for a while. And the biggest thing I can tell you is do your research and get some counsel, especially when people are willing to counsel with you for free. Reach out to people and talk to them about what you're thinking about, because somebody like myself, I can kind of guide you and steer you in some directions that will save you some money, because we all have limited finances. Okay, I don't know what your financial status is, and it really doesn't matter. But we all are limited. Even if you are a multi-millionaire, you're still limited on what you can do as far as your finances. And even if you, especially if you are a person that has a lot of money, you know, seek some counsel. Seek some counsel, talk to somebody before you just go out and start spending money like crazy. Because the last thing I want to see you do is spend some money and waste what you spend. That's my biggest thing right there. Other than that, like I said, that's the biggest point I can give you. Talk to somebody. Talk to somebody who's been doing it for a while. And get started. The biggest the journey of 1,000 miles always starts with the first step. Okay? Always get started. That's with anything in life. Anything you try to do in life, just get started. Because if you don't get started, guess what? You're gonna be in the same situation 5 years from now. You know, I posted a video yesterday where I was talking about where do you see yourself? You know, and I pose that question to you now. Where do you see yourself in 30 days? Where do you see yourself in 60 days? Where do you see yourself in 180 days? Where do you see yourself in 365 days? And hopefully, prayerfully, nothing catastrophic happens to us in that period of time. But I will tell you, this food shortage thing is real. You know, I go to the stores all the time. And as a matter of fact, I think the thing that really woke me up was when I went to Walmart and they actually had signs up. And if you don't believe me, go back through about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I actually posted the sign. I took a picture of the sign. And I did a video. This was back when I had really poor quality. I did a video inside of Walmart with the signs all around. Hey, due to the food shortage, due to the food shortage. And I was like, oh my God, this thing is real. And when it gets to the point where companies are warning you, and when I went to Chipotle and I couldn't get guacamole because they were out of avocados, I really kicked it into high gear. I was like, okay, we gotta really, start doing some things, because this food shortage thing is serious. And last thing I want is for you to go out and spend a whole bunch of money unnecessarily, but also I don't want you to get caught with your pants down. I don't know where that term came from. I guess because you can't run with your pants down by your ankles. But I don't want you to get caught, period. Because at least if you have 2 weeks, 3 weeks of food, you can ration that out to the point where you got, 2 months of food. If anything was to happen right now, and you guys only ate small meals 1 time a day, how long would the food in your cabinets and in your pantry last? I can't answer that. That's a question you have to answer for yourself. Also, y'all always hear me talk about water. Water is so vital and so important. Pick you up some of these. Pick you up some mini Sawyers. You can get these things for $20 at Walmart. And it could, believe it or not, save your life. Charcoal and sand. Can't never have too much of it. Okay, that's a great way of filtering water. 5-gallon buckets. Start buying them now. And I would also recommend that you get the food grade lids. You can get a 5-gallon bucket for like $2, but you're gonna spend like $6 or $7 on a food grade lid. And the reason I recommend those, you can use the Home Depot lids and you can use the Lowe's lids, but if I'm storing food and I'm putting food away so that I can survive and my family can live and we can thrive, and I'm depending on that bucket, 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4 years down the line, I need that bucket to be secured. I need that bucket to hold up. And I know you guys can agree with that. Because the worst thing I'd like to see you do, or one of the things I wouldn't want to see you do, is go out and spend $100 on food, $3 on a bucket, and 99 cents on a lid, and your $100 worth of food it can't be used because the lid on the bucket failed. So hopefully you guys have gotten something out of this. If you are new here, please subscribe, okay? And come back often. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when we do post. Also, comment. I love reading your comments. I try my best to respond to every one of them. I know I'm behind today because, life happens. But subscribe, hit the bell notification, hit the like button, comment, and share. Why? Because sharing is caring. I'll see y'all later. Take care.